players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
Go, go, USA! Oh, it's incredible!
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue, the other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Yeah. It's the USA Hour.
USA Hour.
The
We were ready
Yankees.
to go at 7 o'clock.
The Yankees are losing. If you're thinking about watching the baseball, don't watch the baseball. The Yankees are losing. Listen to us.
Well, when they listen to us, it'll be Wednesday morning when the podcast releases. So Yankees will have lost 2 days prior.
The Yankees probably have lost this game. I mean, it's not over yet, but
what is going on with the base?
New York. Both the New York teams. Both the New York teams are good this year. They both made the playoffs, and
what was the big Mets news over the weekend? Everyone's like Mets. I only know
the
when
Mets
stuff
are
happens.
The Mets. Every game is epic with the Mets. I'm not a Mets fan. I used to be a pretty big Yankees fan in the '90s and early 2000s when I discovered
messing up your team.
When I discovered baseball, well, I was just kind of in the '90s. I discovered baseball and I got really into it because it's a cool game. And playoff baseball is very fun.
Yeah, the government will ask you about your allegiances, and you're like, hold on, I'm really into baseball.
I'm all about the baseball. Well, it was like, back in the '90s, it was like, take the subway to the Bronx to watch the Yankees for $20 or whatever, or take the bus to the Meadowlands to watch the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars with like 250 of my closest. I don't know. Yeah, I just got into baseball. Anyway.
And you had no money because the Coney Island guy took it all from you not 10 minutes ago.
You're the grandfather of the guy that ripped you off.
Yeah.
So, no, that was in the 18... Anyway, so...
but rumor has it...
What was I going to say? Oh, no, the Mets, who I have not been a fan of ever, but you can't not pay attention because every game has been epic. They got into the playoffs with an epic comeback. They had an epic comeback in their wild card game, and then they had an epic comeback after they were held scoreless by Zach Wheeler for 7 innings against the Phillies. Then came back and won that game 6-1 or whatever it was. So the Mets are very exciting currently, even to a non-fan. They're impossible to ignore. The Yankees are also good. So now the Mets lost.
I'm ignoring them. I've been ignoring them.
Lost yesterday. Well, here in New York,
as far as I know, they were
everybody's talking about the. Yeah, there's no. The Dodgers are still in, right? I think.
I have no idea.
The Yankees are playing the Royals, the Kansas City Royals. They won the first game, lost the second. So both New York teams are 1-1 in their division
Here in Los
series.
Angeles, the only sports that get talked about is soccer. For instance, I didn't hear anything about the Dodgers, but I did hear about Colombia playing Bolivia next week in
all right.
in La Paz, I believe.
I'm just keeping everybody informed. So if they need a little baseball, the MLS regular season is now almost over.
Well,
practically.
Let's talk about Yankees again for a quick second.
Okay.
Online, the rumors are Yankees are trying to get rid of their ownership stake of NYCFC. Is this correct?
Well, I don't know. Who says that?
I think on Reddit or something, they're like, there's some link to an article. It's like Yankees. How much do Yankees own? Like 20% or something?
Well, it's just changed. So their stake has become smaller.
Right. That might have been. That might have been it. Then what you're talking about?
Because there is he's Bolivian, I believe. Marcelo Claure.
Right. Yeah.
He bought a stake.
The former Sprint executive or whatever.
Yeah, he bought a stake in NYCFC, and I guess there used to be an NYCFC well, there's two companies. There was an NYC, there was the club, the company that's the club. Now there was another company that's the stadium. And now there used to be two companies, and the Yankees had 20% of the club, but 0 of the stadium. And so now they have created a holding company that owns both of those. And so basically, and I guess the math just sort of shakes out that the stadium is about the same value. The stadium company is valued the same as the club is.
And then this is
So-
Yankee Stadium we're talking here.
No, the new stadium,
Oh, at the new NYCFC Stadium.
the new NYCFC stadium. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, the Yankees used to have 20% of half of the whole thing. So now they have 10% of the whole thing.
Each.
So they have 10% of the holding company that owns everything.
Got it.
Because I guess they also wanted to have this all be one company so that the interests are aligned, so that you don't have to decide like if you make a profit, if the stadium turns a
Bjorn,
profit.
then riddle me this.
What am I
The
riddling you?
Yankees did not invest in the future of NYCFC. You know, like when NYCFC was spending 6 or 7 or 8 or however many years trying to find a stadium, the Yankees weren't helping, right? They're in the way. In fact, there's that famous case of like them nixing the Bronx deal over
The parking
spot.
spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However,
I would
now
say
that
that's my sense. Yeah.
Yeah, mine too. Now that it's over the line, now that they actually did all the work, now the Yankees are investing into the stadium. To me, like
They're
as a businessman,
No, they're
you'd
not.
make more money if you did that ahead of time. Does that make
No,
sense?
but they're not investing. They're not investing in the stadium. That's why they
just to
now.
reshuffle.
Well, they had 20% of the club. They're not paying for the stadium.
Yeah.
CFG is paying for the stadium, so that's why they don't have any. They don't have
Right.
any ownership of that company, so they now have just 10% of the whole thing.
I thought, but
And I guess
now
they
do
brought
have
in-
ownership of it now, or did I miss here? Because now if they have 10%,
They have 10. They have 10% of the whole thing, but they didn't increase. They didn't increase their. I mean, because now it's one big company, so their share has gone down to 10% of the whole thing. But they
Oh,
didn't.
so the Yankees did nothing. NYCFC just rewrote some paperwork. Is what happened. So like
Yes,
okay.
they got Marcelo Claure. I don't know
Claure,
how to
yeah,
pronounce
to-
his name.
to
Claure.
invest.
To invest, so he now owns 10% of the whole thing. But he paid money for this,
Right.
which they probably were interested in, to raise some funds to pay for the stadium. I think that was probably something that they wanted, and the Yankees probably had that option too. They could have been like,
They just said
"Oh,
no.
you want to keep owning 20% of everything," but they probably chose not to because they don't care. Yeah, like you're saying.
Interesting.
And I don't know
Marcelo
what's
Claure,
in it.
a famous con artist. I don't know if you know about Marcelo Claure. He was supposed to invest in Miami's first franchise back in the day with FC Barcelona. Were you around during any of that stuff?
I mean, I was on the planet, but I didn't follow it.
I don't know what year this is because everything just melts together for me. This might have been as early as like 08 or something like that, 07 or 08. But the Miami Marcelo Claure, who was a Sprint executive, he was a high executive at Sprint or something like that, claimed to be one of the richest men in the world. He's in the billions, which like if you're that rich, you're not. He wasn't the president, or maybe he was the CEO of Sprint or something. But he was like a high-level corporate executive. But it's not Elon Musk. He didn't own the company. He was just a high-level executive. I think he claimed he had a private jet. But it's kind of found out he didn't really have any of that money. He was just like a pretty rich dude, but he wasn't as rich as he claimed. And because he owns clubs in Bolivia, and he's a big Bolivian magnate who does well in South Florida. And then him and FC Barcelona signed a partnership to bring MLS to Miami. It was going to be called FC Barcelona Miami. And Barcelona was contributing $0.00. They were just contributing their colors, their name, and their colors, and their brand. That's all they were contributing. And Marcelo Claure was supposed to be the money man, but he had no money. So the thing kind of fell apart. Not only that, there was flaws from the beginning because Barcelona only deals with Nike, and MLS is an Adidas league, kind of like the same stuff they've had with the Cosmos before. So like Marcelo Claudio was kind of found out to be a little bit of the music man. Like he was just a guy, kind of like the New York Cosmos guys. I don't know if you remember Paul Kemsley, the New York Cosmos Brit.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a charlatan. And then as far as I know, he is a minority investor in Inter Miami, right? Or am I wrong? I think
He
this
was, but then now he's not anymore. But
this
he had
news story
some.
made me realize he was not an investor in Miami, which surprised me. I
Yeah.
thought he was one of the Miami investors.
He had been, but
But you're about to figure him out. So all I'm telling you is that he's an interesting new bedfellow. Because if a dude who claims to be rich, he can't seem to actually buy a lot of MLS. He can now at least not by himself.
He was bought out in 2021 by Beckham and the Moss brothers out of Inter Miami.
Interesting.
But he was an initial partner with David Beckham and Simon Fuller in the initial. But I mean, that all took forever. I don't know.
Right.
It wasn't really. So yeah, I guess you're right. And it wasn't until the Moss brothers showed up that this all got some traction.
Now what MLS is probably not sharing with us. I could just be talking out of school here, but I think this is not the end of the Marcelo Claudio story. You know, like if I had to analyze his behavior, you know, he didn't have enough money for the franchise. He was just bought out of the franchise he invested in, and now he was able to wiggle his way in NYCFC for just.
But you think CFG, they just sort of took his word? I mean, they must have.
I don't know.
He must have. They just took a check. He just wrote a check. They were like, okay. I mean, it seems like he's.
Hold on, Bjorn. Did it clear, or is it still?
I mean, they made an announcement. I assume they got the cash. I don't know how. I don't know how this kind of thing works. If you just say, "Oh yeah, I have the money," and they're like, "All right, now you have 10%. You got to just pay for the cement trucks to go to the." Yeah, I don't know how this works. But,
where do you think? If I had to pretend to be an ignoramus, and you say, "Hey, Stefan, where do you think the money of a Bolivian-based South Florida billionaire comes from?"
No, this is just complete.
You had to ask me.
I really object. I really object to this, to the implications, insinuations of this.
He's a telephone billionaire. I guess he invented.
That's terrible. That's terrible because
where
he
does
is.
money come from? I don't know. I would put money on that.
I have nothing bad to say about Marcelo Claudio. He's he now owns 10% of NYCFC. I don't know. And he seems to care. He's a local. He lives in town, and I don't know.
Who does? Marcelo Claudio?
Yeah, he lives in New York City. So it's just supporting his hometown club. Nothing wrong with that.
Maybe that's all it was. Just moved from Miami to New York, so he's like, I'm taking my money out of this club and putting it this club.
Yeah, perhaps.
Cool.
I mean, this stadium is expensive, so they gotta, they need people to chip in. I bet.
Do you remember how Orlando? Do you remember how Orlando paid for their stadium?
No.
Via the controversial P5 visa plan, or whatever it was called, that foreign billionaires who wanted immediate visa status,
they could get
contribute to the Orlando Stadium project. In exchange, they were printed a visa the next day.
See, we just got one guy. To chip in. That's much better.
Yeah, it's like a
Daniel Young is saying the Yankees giving away their ownership stake in NYC is amazing. Let's have an owner who cares for the team. Yeah, the Yankees. I mean, good riddance. Really, it's true.
You know what I say?
They were supposed to help, and they didn't really help.
You know what I say? When you move from the Bronx to Queens, get rid of the Yankees, let the Mets buy in. Give it to the Mets now. You were with the Yankees for a bit. Time to hang out with the Mets for a bit.
I don't think so. We don't.
Baseball is a core identity of NYCFC. Would you agree or disagree?
Oh, disagree. What do you mean?
Baseball, you use the term innings. It's always a baseball stadium. Yankee ownership, Yankee colors. Right?
I flubbed one time. I made a Freudian slip.
NYC,
now it's part of my identity. Baseball is part of my identity.
You got to embrace the identity. You keep talking about Mets and Yankee scores. I'm a soccer fan. I don't know what you're talking about. But you're an NYCFC fan, so you're really in clue with the Mets and the Yankees and stuff.
So we're gonna put a mound in the middle of the soccer field in the new stadium, just because it would just be too weird. Otherwise, we're not gonna.
Yes.
We're not gonna play two halves. We're gonna play 9 innings.
Should be called the dugout. There should be a mound right out next to the dugout.
Instead of the national anthem, we're gonna sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Hell yeah! I would honestly embrace that. Why not? Summertime. What? When you think American sports in the summertime, what do you think? What is it? What is American sports in the summertime?
Base soccer.
It's baseball, base soccer. So you should be singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." We should be singing that at soccer games anyway. It applies.
Definitely.
They should be selling Cracker Jacks at the stands.
Yeah. I don't care if I ever get back.
I don't care. Take me out to the soccer game. If
Take
they
me
don't
out
win,
with
it's
a
expected.
small crowd.
Take me out to the Fußballspiel. If they don't buy me a Wurst and some beer.
Let's root for the blue team. If they don't win, it's a shame.
Or a shame, whatever. Because it's 1, 2, 3 yellow cards and he's still not off.
That part
We gotta
needs
make this happen.
Gotta workshop a little more of that.
You know, a little dig at the MLS referee, baby. Yeah.
Anyway,
of
I don't
Miami-
think baseball's part of our identity. We're gonna forget about all that once we have the stadium.
Honestly, I think that would be a shame. Baseball is a big part of New York soccer identity. Do you know where back in the day, I guess it's not baseball, I guess it's wrong, but back in the day, there was a legendary place called the Polo Grounds up in the
that's where the Dodgers used to play.
It's
Before
also
they just fled to Los Angeles.
exactly, and then the New York Yankees used to play. Everybody played there back in the day. Wasn't that was just the place? It was just like the sports place. But that's also where
I cannot speak to that. That was before my time. Not much happened before my time, but that is
what do you mean not much happened before your
the
time?
dinosaurs and Polo
Big
Grounds.
Bang.
That's it. Everything else happened during my lifetime.
Big Bang, dinosaurs, Polo Grounds.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
2 World Wars, Polo
Two World
Grounds. That's it. Everything
but the
else,
Polo
my
Grounds-
lifetime.
Polo Grounds is also where Hakoah Vienna would come into town. They were a Viennese super soccer team. They would come into town. They were an all-Jewish soccer team, and they loved New York City so much, a lot of them just stayed. And one of them, the team captain or whoever, became the head usher at the Met up through the 70s, I want to say.
Oh.
One of the many old school Austrian soccer players who toured the Polo Grounds and stayed in New York. And the Polo Grounds, because soccer teams would come to New York and they would like pack the house because New York is, it's a melting pot.
Big.
And it was the Polo Grounds where they do all that. So they would play where the Yankees would play. Like there's like a history to that. So if I were to start a soccer team stadium in New York, I would definitely lean into that. But that's just me. No one else. I'm the only person who knows this history. No one else knows.
When I came to New York in the 90s, and there was talk of the Yankees moving somewhere else because the Bronx, they said they can't get 3 million people to come a year in the Bronx. The site is bad. The South Bronx was dangerous. The stadium was old. And then it all changed, there was a boom, the team took off and they had 3, 4, they set all sorts of attendance records and they bought a new stadium right next to it.
Yeah, Derek Jeter did all that.
Yeah.
Where would they have gone? Do you think would they have gone to? Because the thing with
there
New
was
York,
there was talk of New Jersey back then, because that's where
that would have been so cool. What
yeah.
if the Yankees moved to New Jersey and NYCFC all their home games were at a baseball stadium in New Jersey as opposed to
that would be even better. No, I don't think. I mean, I think this was in the end probably just George Steinbrenner like angling for city money to help with. So I think ultimately this was probably all a bluff, but those things were definitely kicking around. Like, oh, the Yankees are terrible. I mean, and that seems completely unspeakable now. The idea that the Yankees would move out of the Bronx would be preposterous. But back then that was talked about.
Name any other great institution in the Bronx. I mean, the New York Yankees have muscle up there. I mean,
The zoo?
they carved themselves a little burrow to like
The zoo.
be in charge of. Oh yeah, there's the zoo, the hospital. I mean, there's other stuff. But like, if you're the New York Yankees, you have some pull in the Bronx. It's a nice little corner of the city. You got yourself.
I guess so. Yeah.
Because in
And
Manhattan,
we could
it'd just be noise.
we thought we could ride on their coattails, but they wouldn't share. So now we're going to Queens, and that's all great. We keep seeing new stadium renderings, and your dream is also not going to come true. I'm sorry to say. Your
Is it confirmed? I don't know.
It's
Is
confirmed.
it because we can't play each other? I haven't checked the standings.
We're not going to play each other in the first round for sure.
All right.
And we're not going to. And regardless, we're not going to. We're probably. I mean, this is not 100%, but we're probably not going to catch Orlando. And so that means we are not going to get the first home game. And by the time. I mean, this is just my. I don't know.
And neither of us are going to get a home game, right? We're both on the road, aren't we?
Well, we're going to get a home game because every first round team gets a home game because it's going to be that best of three.
I mean, to host the series.
We're not going to get to host,
Yeah.
and so by the time our home game comes around, which is game 2, the World Series should be basically over or on its last leg. So even if both New York teams were to make it to the World Series, which is obviously a big if, Citi Field should be available for our game 2, no matter what.
So where are we at with baseball? When is it the semifinals?
Baseball is currently in the division series, which is the winners of that go into the league championship series, and then they go into the World Series. So
they're in the quarterfinal phase right now.
But the last game. Well, let's say the
Mets and Yankees are still alive.
They're still alive, and even if they both made it to the World Series, then the Yankees would get game 6 and 7, and game 5 would be on October 25th. Which is still which is the Wednesday before the second week of the playoffs. So we should have enough. They should have enough time to get Citi Field ready for us for that weekend. So
I have a new wish, Bjorn. I have a new wish.
What is your wish now?
Can I share my amended wish?
Mm-hmm.
My amended wish is for both the Mets and the Yankees to make the World Series, and NYCFC makes a run to MLS Cup. And they have to host MLS Cup, but they have to wait to see. They have to wait depending on the Yankees-Mets series. So the venue is TBD, and they have to wait to see who's playing when. And whenever someone loses in the next day, then the MLS Cup will happen in the other stadium. So if they're in Citi Field doing the World Series, then MLS Cup is allowed to be at Yankee Stadium. But if they're Yankees in the World Series, MLS Cup has to be at Citi Field. So the idea is that they know it's happening to New York, but they have to wait. They have to wait for the MLB scores to come out first before they can announce when the game is. That would be my new wish.
Okay, that wish will also not come true, unfortunately for you.
I know.
Because MLS Cup is December 7th. Nobody plays baseball in December.
Well, it's such a good series. I just talked to the lady today. I had a job interview.
They're just going to keep playing?
I had a job interview today, and the lady, her last job was she ran the LA Dodgers parking for 2 years. She was in charge of the parking. And she told me how great of a job it was and how much overtime you'll make. She said she knew a married couple that worked there, and they bought a house cash off all the money they made parking LA Dodgers.
Wow.
Because it's parking, especially in LA, is a great scam. And she said that she was at Dodger Stadium for 20 hours once because they won so many extra innings. She had a 20-hour shift, and that was 18 hours of not 18, but like 12 hours of time and a half or whatever overtime. So why did I bring that up? It's like the parking situation.
Because you were saying the game 7 of the World Series could last for 6 weeks.
They could last for 6 weeks.
There could be thousands of innings.
The amount of overtime? Kidding me? The overtime?
Amount of overtime would be incredible. Yeah, overtime till December. So yeah, and then we'd have to wait to host MLS Cup. But then even in that scenario, the other stadium would be available. They wouldn't be like flip-flopping.
Well, that's the comedy of it. Everybody's in a bus. around Central
Daniel
Park.
Young is saying that NYCFC will play at Citi Field. Yeah, I think that's probably true because after October, Yankee Stadium has off-season renovations and they host college football in November, December. See, he knows things.
Okay,
I
but
think
my
that's
dream
probably
is everybody's
true.
waiting in a bus, right? They're all in buses. Teams on one,
Oh,
team
boy.
on, everybody's waiting on the subway, and they're supposed to wait. And Don Garber's there. All right, everybody, hold on now. He's checking the phone, and he's like, "And okay, it's Citi Field," and everyone to run to Citi Field, set up the game real quick, and that's MLS Cup. That's my dream. That would be a lot of fun.
Okay.
To me. But anyway, we're on the eaves of the playoffs. The playoffs can't come soon enough. They should have come
have
6
one-
weeks ago, in my opinion.
We're one game
left.
away from decision day. Yeah, everybody's played, or most teams have played 33
It's
games.
a big game for
Toronto's-
us. This game dictates whether you'll be 5th place or 5th place, and my game dictates whether it'll be 7th place or 7th place. So it's a big
much.
decision day for both of us.
That is pretty much true. We have we're probably, I mean, we could theoretically catch Orlando. Orlando's playing Atlanta at home, and Atlanta is still sort of barely alive. But Orlando's been quite good, and they won again this weekend, and so they now are 2 points ahead of us. So we would have to win, and they would have to lose. They're playing Atlanta at home. We're playing at Montreal. So
we have
figure
the
out
crew.
how likely figure out how likely that is. You cannot catch us. We are going to finish ahead of you.
I know, isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. We would not have thought that for most of the season.
Literally, what is it, 1 or 2 weeks ago, we've been above you the entire season. And now the last 2 weeks, you're up 5th and we're 7th or whatever. Just goes to show you how really sloppy our second. So to bounce back off our 5-1 blue divorce, we had a 4-1 win midweek. I mean,
I love
predict
that we're calling
MLS.
it
I
that.
dare you to. But then we had a pretty crazy loss against Atlanta with a lot of called off goals, a lot of cards, a lot of penalties. You know, all the fans are blaming the ref. I don't. You know, I didn't really. I'll be honest with you. I didn't look super closely at the things, but I just didn't really care. At this point, I just don't care anymore, right? I just bring on the playoffs. Let's go. So we had a loss against Atlanta at Atlanta. I was hoping for maybe a tie. And our last game was a home game against Columbus Crew. Maybe the Crew are going to play some of their bench because
The
they've got
Crew
2
are
games
second.
left.
Yeah, they got nothing. They will
Win
not,
or lose,
nothing- this,
so.
this makes no difference. This
Yeah,
game
so maybe
tonight.
that'll be our advantage. Maybe we can get a win there. But the difference
you
between 6th
also-
place and 7th place, I mean, who gives a crap, right? What's the difference?
Well,
Wait a minute.
it's
Hold on.
I think it is.
Hold on.
What? Yeah.
If we end up in 7th place, does that mean we play Columbus in the playoffs?
Yes.
So this could be the first of 4 games against Columbus.
Yeah, could be.
I just realized that just now. We're about
That's
to play
pretty funny.
Columbus 4 times in a row.
I mean,
If
because
we do well,
Charlotte
3
are
times, if
playing.
not.
Charlotte are playing.
And Columbus are a playoff bogey, by the way. I don't think we've ever beaten them in the playoffs.
And Charlotte are playing at DC United, and DC United is also, they still need at least a point to make the playoffs. So they're in it. So
I'd much rather have Cincy than Columbus.
I mean, you
think
still have a chance potentially to climb up to 6 if you can win this
But
game.
with you, it's going to be Orlando either way, right? You're either at Orlando or
We're
hosting.
yeah, unless Charlotte catches us, and then we'd be 6. I mean, in a way, maybe we want to be 6 because Cincinnati's been bad. We just beat Cincinnati on Wednesday. They lost again this weekend. So if you wanna, if your choice is Orlando or Cincinnati, I might rather play Cincinnati. But
Me too. Our choice is Columbus and Cincinnati. I'm definitely picking Cincinnati.
yeah, you would also probably. Well, but you can. But we would have. Yeah. So anyway, you
We're
you
both
get what
trying to
you
get to
get.
Cincinnati. We're trying to get to
We're
Cincinnati.
both
Have you ever
trying
been
to-
to Cincinnati?
You
by
need
the
to
way?
win, and we need to lose. And Charlotte needs to win for us to have a chance at Cincinnati.
Have you ever been to Cincinnati?
I flew into Cincinnati on my way to a playoff game in Columbus. That's it.
Oh. Well, Cincinnati's got a great German tradition. The downtown's called the Rhein. Or some of the Klein or the Little Rhine is what it's called, an homage to the Rhine River. And they've got great ice cream, really crappy chili they like, but Cincy is a really cute little town with a nice German flair. So
I
do have
might
a
go
soft
there
spot
for a playoff game. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, possibly.
might
You
go
should go.
I might go to
Yeah, what time?
Orlando. I have friends in the Tampa area, so I may go. I don't
It's
know.
called
We'll
Over
see
the
how this
Rhine.
all. We'll see how this all shakes out. But
Here we go. The Over the Rhine neighborhood, also known as Cincinnati's Rhineland and the Rhineland of America, is a German cultural district in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's a well-preserved 19th century historic neighborhood. It used to be a working-class German neighborhood back in the day, but now it's got hip gastro pubs and bars and stuff, and a market and stuff. So, I have a soft spot for Cincy in the Over the Rhine neighborhood. If you do a playoff, I recommend heading there, doing it up. Heck, if the Red Bulls are there, maybe I'll go myself. Maybe I'll make the
we
long
will
trek.
see. Yeah. I mean, we're on paper we're a hot team. We just won 3 in a row, but we talked about last. I don't know. Our defense looks shaky. We had a good lead against Cincinnati. We almost gave it away. We had we scored like 3 goals against Nashville early, and then just sat back. And I don't know. I mean, at some point, 75th minute, I was looking at my friend, and we were both like, "Yeah, this game should be tied. We are not like." It was like the weirdest 3-1 victory I've definitely witnessed. It was like, it did not inspire a ton of confidence. But Santi Rodriguez is hot. Alonso Martinez scores like Wondolowski goals now, where he just sort of waits at the back post and the ball just kind of bounces off his shin and goes in. He doesn't have to even do anything. So I don't know what's gonna happen. On the lower places, DC and Montreal currently have the last 2 playoff spots. Toronto's already done. They have played their season and they are eliminated. But Philly and Atlanta are still alive, but they need to win their games, and then DC and Montreal would need to both lose for them, or at least one of them, for one of them.
Take
to
a
have
miracle.
chance.
It's going to take a miracle for them. I know.
It's gonna take some luck. I mean, they do have the tiebreaker. They own the tiebreakers. They have the better goal differential over DC and Montreal. So they just need.
So big question.
They just need to win, and one of them needs to lose. And Montreal might
Yeah.
lose because we're playing them, and we usually do well there, and we're the hot
Yeah.
team.
Eastern's a little more open. I just look at the West right now. The West is done.
West is done. West is
Because
done.
Austin's 10th place, and there's a 7-point gap between 9th and 10th.
7-point gap. Yeah.
So,
And
so
Austin,
the playoff teams are the playoff teams. It's Portland on the bottom, Galaxy up top. Vancouver's
and
got 2 games.
Austin
in
wasted
hand,
no time. Austin wasted no time
Right.
firing Josh Wolf. He's gone.
which means there's a record like 6 or 7 MLS clubs without a head coach right now. I mean, there's work to be had, boy. I mean, coaches need to get hired. We'll see.
And that's not counting Nick Cushing.
That's right. Well, what do you mean? Nick Cushing is still an interim coach?
No. I'm just joking.
Okay,
Just
gotcha.
making
Yeah.
jokes.
You don't think? I was going to say if they make the playoffs in a hot run. I mean, sounds like he got himself another season, at least the beginning.
Oh,
of
for
another
sure.
season.
Yeah. No, he's not going anywhere.
But with the West, the 2 LA teams are up top, followed by Seattle, RSL, Houston, Colorado, Minnesota, Vancouver, and Portland. Good for Colorado with their American contingent getting 6th place. Houston, who had a good season last year, they're 5th. Real Salt Lake is in 4th. Seattle is in 3rd. They had a pretty disappointing season last year, I believe. So this year it is good for them to be 3rd again. Yeah, but
And
the big question
the San Jose fans had a tifo up. I saw a picture of last in, as
That's a
always,
bigger
last in the standings and first in our hearts.
But that's a bigger issue. We talked about that's because of what's his face, the most evil man in baseball right now, John Fisher.
Oh, right, we talked about him last week. Yeah,
They have a John Fisher problem in San Jose. You know how Cologne used to be your favorite Bundesliga club back in the day?
I do remember. Yeah, in the 19th century.
You know what my Cologne was, my favorite MLS club was back in the day?
Eintracht Braunschweig.
Oh no, MLS we're talking.
Oh, MLS. Chivas United.
Chivas USA. It was not Chivas USA. Although I did like Chivas USA for a bit. When Bob Bradley
Tommy McNamara played on Chivas USA.
Yeah, well, but Chivas USA was Bob Bradley. It was Sasha Kleshin that was his coming out party, and it was Ante Razov and guys like Chivas and Preki. Chivas USA had a couple of they were the best team in LA during a little bit of their time. when they were at their least Mexican is when they were at their best. Because when they committed to the Mexican identity, all they could sign were like rejects and stuff like that. So it was hard. But anywho, my favorite MLS team was the San Jose Earthquakes. I was a big San Jose Earthquakes fan once upon a time. In 2003, when they won the MLS Cup, beating DeMarcus Beasley and Chicago Fire 4-2, it was such a fun game. They had a great team. They had a guy named Joselito Vaca, Joe Cow. They had Ronnie Eklund, the Danish reject. They had a center back named Troy Dyack, who's like a bruiser American player. They had Landon Donovan. They had a young Dwayne De Rosario, Canadian superstar.
Oh, yeah.
And they were coached by Frank Yallop and later Tom Green. They were a great little, and they played in a tiny little college stadium that was too small that shouldn't ever host an MLS game. Spartan Stadium, I believe it was called. Rest in peace. I think the Welsh national team played in that stadium once, and Ryan Giggs ran the field, looked around, and literally just went, "What the hell is this?" Just like, what is this? Because I guess he didn't see it before. But anywho, I have a soft spot for San Jose. It's sad. Now, that the San Jose I'm talking about essentially is the current Houston Dynamo.
Houston Dynamo, yeah.
Right.
They left and then they were replaced. Right.
So
I
the
do know
soul
that.
kind of lives with the Houston Dynamo, because that is sort of one of the forgotten MLS franchises. Because San Jose won 2 titles, went to Houston and won another 2 titles. So, like, if that was the one team, it's 4 titles.
The Earthquakes have not done well.
The new Earthquakes never captured that spirit, but I still have a soft spot for the San Jose Earthquakes, and I hope they get themselves a good owner and figure out what's going on.
Good luck. Daniel
So big
Young
question,
thinks.
Bjorn.
Daniel Young thinks that New York City needs 4th place because we are a very young group with growing pains away from home. We should beat Montreal and Atlanta should tie Orlando. Now, that would not be enough, though, unless we beat Montreal by 4 goals. We would need to beat Montreal by 4 for that to be enough. Atlanta would have to beat Orlando for us to finish 4th.
What's
I
the
think
first
it's a long
tiebreaker
shot.
again? Is it goals scored?
No, first tiebreaker is wins, which we would be even with Orlando if we won and they didn't. Because they have 15 wins, we have 14 wins. So
And
we
then
would
the
be
next
even
one's
on
goals.
that, but they have, and theirs is 10, but they have more goals. So we would need a 4. We would need a 4 goal win, or we would have to win 5-2. That'd be enough too. So if it's
Why is it
3
not
goal
goal
difference.
Is it not goal-
What?
What is wrong with? Why is it not goal difference? What's wrong with goal difference? Why would
No, it
goals
is goal
scored-
difference after. No, but goal difference is. I'm saying if we get, they're plus 10, we're plus 7, but we have fewer goals. So if we only tie the 10, we would lose out. So we'd have to we have to make up 4 unless we score 5. If we win 5-2, then 3 goals is enough. Well,
But
I
the
guess
big
then we would
question-
be depending on how many goals they score. Anyway, the big question.
The big question on everyone's mind this year.
What
it's
is
been the hypothesis of the season is Bjorn.
Yeah.
Drum roll. Will Inter Miami win the MLS Cup in addition to their Supporter Shield title?
Not if they're playing us.
Is that an honest answer? Or is that a passionate?
I think we can take him. I do
Yeah.
believe if we survive the first round, I think they're going to survive whoever they're going to play, whether it's DC or
the plan. It's the plan candidate, right? Yeah, whoever the plan is.
against the play-in game where DC, Montreal, Philly, Atlanta, any of those 4 they're going to beat. But if we survive Orlando, which is a big if, Orlando's been very good, so that's a pretty. I'm not saying we would be favored, but I think if we survive Orlando, I think we match up well with Miami. I think I think we can take him.
All right, that'll be fun. But so who do you think is going to win MLS Cup? Just use it like if you had to bet money on it, who do you think is going to win MLS Cup this year?
If I had to put money on it,
Yeah, like if it was, I know you're a passionate fan and you dream of NYCFC winning, just me dreaming
of
of Rebels
course I
winning.
do.
But let's say
course I
say you're an analyst at work, and the analysts are like, "All right, you know how Warren Buffett, like when he invests, everyone follows his advice. Like you're now the Bjorn Soccer office, and people want to put money on who's going to win, and they have to follow your real analysis.
It's so different. It's just
What would be your
it's
choice?
impossible. It's impossible. If I had to, if I had to put money on it, I would probably put money on Inter Miami. How could you not? They definitely have been head and shoulders above everybody else. Messi is healthy-ish, seems like. So, got to be Miami, got to be the favorite. But do I think they're definitely going to do it? No, there's lots of... Columbus is good. The LA teams are good. And I think... And I do honestly think we do match up well with them. I mean, I don't think... we've played them pretty strong. And so... I mean, I think, if you told me pick one team, I would pick Miami.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Like, I definitely think Columbus is a good shout, but I think the same theme we've followed for most of the season. The winner is going to be Miami, Columbus, or one of the LA teams. I think so. Miami's probably favorites, and maybe one of the LA teams could sneak in and be the party poopers a little bit. But if it's anybody out of those four, it's going to be quite the surprise. I think quite the outsiders. Like, what if Montreal came in and just won the dang thing? Quite the surprising little event. I think.
No way, that's not going to happen.
Well, I remember on Twitter we had this back and forth about, like, because whenever people win the Supporters Shield, it's always a debate. What's the Supporters Shield? What's the crap? What's crap? And I'll never forget the 2010 MLS season, because the Colorado Rapids just went in and won, and FC Dallas. They both made it on the final, and both of them were like two of the worst teams of the year. Like, they were just like such nothing teams, but they both had great runs there at the end, and they both made it to the final. And then Cotter, former Mind striker Connor Casey, scored the winning goal, and they won the MLS Cup. And I was just like, all right, I guess the Colorado Rapids are the two of 2010.
Congratulations!
They won the game,
right?
But I mean, I couldn't tell you who the Supporters Shield winners were that year. I don't know exactly. I have to look it up. And it was funny at the end. The Volkswagen guys were there to give the MVP award, and they didn't know anything about soccer. So he was an American exec. So it's like, the MVP award goes to Casey Connor, because Connor Casey's got two first names for a name.
He didn't know.
And then right in front of on national television, he handed the award. There you go, Casey Connor, which was not his name. It's like, thank you.
This is
typical MLS.
This wouldn't happen anymore today. There's more.
I don't know, man.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Can't be totally ruled out.
I just
love I was saying how in 2021 it definitely felt right, but I mean, nobody agrees with that. The Philly fans still have a beef with
the Philly
with that
COVID
year, and I mean, we can't. Although the New England Revolution set a points record that Miami might break. But they said not only did they win the Supporters Shield, they set a record for points in the league, and we beat them at their stadium. So,
is that going to happen in Miami? Maybe we could do that again this year.
Could happen. Yeah, we could. Maybe we could kill another giant. I mean, I think that's actually true. Miami could get the points record.
And when you face Columbus, then after you knock out Miami, you go face Columbus. Patrick Schulte had a birthday party at his house the night before the game, and turns out he has COVID. COVID's still around.
Is that still a thing? That's not a thing.
It's still a thing. And then they didn't have masks, so they had to quarantine the next day. What if it's like an identical run to the?
I would love to beat Columbus. Oh my god!
And then you have to fly to Portland to beat Portland again, even though they were the last place team.
Portland,
for whatever reason, they still host the final
or play one of the LA teams. Yeah,
that'd be cool. Come hang out.
I think our defense is not strong enough for us to get very far in the playoffs. Actually, so I'm not super optimistic.
Although the LA Galaxy are top of the West, if they won it this year, that would 100% feel like that would be a sneaky little smash and grab. They're a great team. I think if they win
I think they're also not good enough defensively. I think the LA Galaxy are a candidate for a surprise upset.
MLS doesn't care about defense. They're like, screw it. They don't pay for defense.
Yeah,
they pay for offense.
Oh, no. In the playoffs, it matters. It gets when things are cagey. I don't know. I think but who knows? But it's very hard to predict. That's why
MLS playoffs. There's a bunch of teams stumbling down the stairs,
games.
And the person who ends up on their feet wins the league, and that's just how we like it, and that's just how we do it.
But I do agree. I did agree with Sasha Klestjan on Twitter about how the Supporters Shield doesn't get a lot of love. I think nobody ever said. He said that
It's flawed though. It's as
nobody
flawed
ever
as
said.
it was
Nobody ever
purpose.
said. Yeah, but it's not as flawed as it's still a much bigger sample size than the playoffs. It's
It
still
is.
a
No, it
legit.
is. No,
Nobody
you're right.
ever says. I mean,
Right.
what his point was like. Nobody ever says that somebody got lucky winning the Supporters
Right.
Shield because
Right,
it's
exactly.
because you can't. It's like you're and Miami. I was definitely a skeptic. I thought Suarez was washed. I thought they couldn't. We were right about Messi not playing that many games. He lost a lot of time, but what I was not right about was that how they fared without him. They really did well.
Yeah.
Consistently found ways to win, even when he wasn't around. And
I
everybody
love.
else.
Hold on. I love that
carried the
concept
torch.
of where. I love that concept though, where it's just like, it's like, oh, Lionel Messi's injured. Well, who do they have? It's like, oh, David Alaba, Sergio Busquets, Luis Suarez. Those guys are just gonna have to figure it out. It's like-
Right. But I mean, that's
Like, they got good
that's
players all
what
around.
that's always. But that's what that to me is it's an expression of the greatness of Messi in a way that the greatest player of all time, transformative talent. There's nobody like him, and yet he knew coming to this league he could not do it alone. Unlike
He
so
needed
many who were like, oh, this is what was Gonzalo Higuain? I could play in MLS with a cigarette
With a
in my
cigarette.
hand. Messi, the greatest of all time, knew he needed help, and he got help, and that's why it's working out. So
And
I think
what his help
to
was?
it's to his credit. It's to his credit.
You know what his help was? His name was who's the German guy on the right wing, the German American?
Julian
Former lad.
Gresse,
Yeah, he got help. He got help in Julian.
he's been pretty.
Gresse.
He's been good. He's been good for them. He was a
Where's
good.
the
That was a good
ARDs?
pickup.
If I was a
What?
sports show reporter, I'd do a little report on him. I'd go follow Julian Gresse and be like, tell us what's like as part of the Messi project.
But Julian Gressel wants to be. I don't know how that's going. He was going to try and become
He's an American
and
citizen.
play for the.
I think
play for
he's
the
already
US
played for the
national
U.S. He's already played for the Mets.
Oh, that's
I've seen
right.
him.
Yeah. No, he got some. He got a couple games.
No, he's an American. No, I know
So
he's
that's
American,
it.
but he's German born. It's not like he's not German anymore. He's still German.
Right.
He still speaks the language, so that would be a great ARD sports show report, I think.
Matt Doyle at some point said that Julian Gressel was the best crosser of the ball in the Germany player pool.
See, that's why
gets
it's hard
scared
to
of-
take those guys seriously.
he gets carried away sometimes.
He gets carried away. But speaking of foreigners who Americans got their eyes on, you know who the U.S. fans have their eyes on? Tati Castellanos.
What?
Tati Castellanos has mentioned he wants to get an American passport and play for the U.S.
Oh,
men's
but he just got called up for Argentina.
Is that true? I mean, it's a pipe dream, but
He got called up one time, and he doesn't live in America anymore. How is he going to get
I know.
citizenship now?
yeah. Am I mixing it up with someone? No, I think it's Tati. I think he mentioned.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah. But I mean, that would be great if he became an American.
he's
all of a
doing
sudden.
well in. He's doing well for.
At Lazio. Yeah, he's
Lazio.
Argentina caliber these days. He's Argentina. Well, anyway, we got the playoff eve. We got this one game. Honestly, I
What
want it to end.
about we should before we sign off here? We could just briefly talk about Pacha's squad. What are your takes? I have some thoughts.
No, you read my mind. I'm glad. I do want to talk about Poch real quick. We have
All
two
right.
games. These are unlike South America and Europe. These are friendlies. I think the South Americans are playing qualifiers. I think, or Nations League or something. Right? The South Americans their games matter, I believe. And then up in
Isn't
Europe,
it
it's the
Nations League for the U.S. as well? No, it's not how
Is
it
it?
is.
No, Nations League's November. These are friendlies.
Oh, it's just
So-
a friendly. Panama and Mexico.
These
Never
are
all
against
that.
cash grabs.
Never
quick
all
cash
that friendly against Mexico.
Yeah, so friendlies against Mexico and Panama. So my thoughts on the squad were fine. I was not surprised by any of it. Everything was called in properly. The only response I had was we have a batch of Americans that play in the Mexican League, and they seemingly always get overlooked. But I don't feel they were over. Like I'm trying to think. There's no one on the roster that was announced where I'm like, oh, Alejandro Zendejas should be there, not Brendan Aarons. You know what I mean? However, we've had typical USA. Americans are made of glass. We had 3 injuries this past week. Flo Balogun, Timo Weah is injured, and a third that I'm escaping right now. I don't know. Do you know offhand who the 3 injuries are? They had 3 players injured, and the replacements were was Brandon Vasquez, Alejandro Zendejas, and another one. The third replacement I'm missing. But essentially, the players I thought were overlooked were the first replacements, and then there were injuries this week, so they were enacted. So now Brandon Vasquez and Alejandro Zendejas are part of the roster, and it's great. It gives them an opportunity to shine and play, and because I think that those 3 guys, there's Zendejas, Vasquez, and who's the third I'm missing? It's a third dude down in Mexico crushing it. Cade Cowell, that's the other one. Cade Cowell at Chivas. Those are 3 Americans doing really well in the Mexican League right now that I feel do not get enough love from the national team these days. But it's good that 2 of them are playing, and they will be involved with the squad. And thumbs up. I'm all about it.
Cade Cowell's been bad for the national team. He played a bunch, and he was not good.
I mean, he's been great for Chivas, and he's a good player. When I saw him for the national team, it was Camp Cupcake. He was the standout player. So it is taking a minute for them to integrate, but does for anybody. But also, it's Poch now. It's not the Greggy days. So who knows? Who knows who's gonna sink and swim? I think some people are gonna fly and some people are gonna sink a little bit. We'll see what happens. Johnny Cardozo is the third guy who got injured, unfortunately. Who again never ever. He's such a great player with his club team, but we still have yet to see his best in U.S. colors. He was replaced.
He does not play. He does not get that much time with his club team. In fairness.
Oh, yeah, I don't follow him super close. All I hear is that he does well. Johnny Cardozo was replaced by Tim Weah Scratch. Johnny Cardozo was replaced by. Okay, I don't have to subscribe to this thing. Okay, Washington Post. Subscribe to you. Flo Balogun, Tim Weah. I'll have to subscribe to that too. They're all behind the paywall.
Oh my god. Anyway, I mean, this was
Tanner Tessman. Tanner Tessman is coming in. There we go. Tanner Tessman is coming in to replace injured Johnny Cardozo. So Brandon Vasquez, Alex Zendejas, and Tanner Tessman came in as first replacements for the injured 3. And to me, that makes sense. Right about now, that probably is where they're at. They are standbys. So I have no complaints. The big news, I guess, is Zach Steffen's back. I'm sure you're not crazy about that.
I think that's a really I think that's my reaction. The
goalkeeper post is wide open. It's like talk about stumbling down the steps. And
my take was there are no real surprises. He just kind of picked the obvious for the obvious people, but the changes or the things that happen around the fringes, I think it's sort of concerning. Like he's got. Like Buzio and Steffen are people who I think have had their chance and have proven to not be good. And
Steffen,
if those are the people that he's like, I don't know.
Buzio definitely deserves a chance. I don't get the Buzio stuff. We've talked about this before. I mean, he's a key player for Italian Serie A club.
I don't rate him. I think he's soft.
Yeah, he is probably. He's not a starter. He's also younger. He's part of the young guys.
That's the thing. These are obviously people at the fringes, so it's not worth in the same way that you would laugh at people who got upset about Christian Roldan or Paul Areola getting called in, who were just going to be on the bench. So I shouldn't get upset about Buzio. I don't know. It just sort of.
Jordan Morris scored a brace, I want to say, last weekend. Maybe it's time for some JMO time again.
It looked this roster just sort of smacked of a very Eurocentric lens, which I think I don't know. I don't think will serve him well. I think he's got to find some American players that he likes, or American MLS players. I don't know.
Morris,
we'll see.
Aiden Morris is part of the squad.
Yeah, I don't rate him either.
I like the roster.
He seems to be doing well.
I like the idea of playing in a Europe heavy squad. It should be a Europe heavy squad. I don't
I
think
agree.
there is an
I agree.
MLS
I don't have.
versus-
Yeah.
like every freaking 3 days. Like there's a big talk on US Soccer Reddit where it's just like,
I'm
time versus
reading
quality.
into
I'd
it.
much rather call up an MLS. Although I will say there does seem to be a shift. And under Greg, it was demanded to be European only. And what I'm seeing online with Poch's first roster is what you're saying. It's like people are like, well, we should probably look at MLS players. You know, it's so interesting how that opinion really
It's funny
shifted
how
when
that-
the coach came.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely reading into it. There's no real, there's no real beef to be had with this roster.
And there's a
I
whole
just
thing
kind
online.
of, I don't know. I feel like
Well, who should it be? Get specific. Who's the MLS
no,
player you
that's the
overlook?
thing. I don't. It's not even Keaton Parks.
There is
Obviously, always Keaton
Well,
Parks.
I'm sure, just like John Tolkien, he's on the list, but they're lower on that list. Like for Keaton Parks to be in,
Keaton Parks has not been on the list. at
5
all.
or 6 or 7 or 8 guys need to get injured first. Like for Keaton Parks to be in. For Keaton Parks to be part of the squad, Johnny Cardozo needs to be injured. Tyler Adams needs to be injured.
No,
Both
I mean,
have
I'm
happened.
obviously
Aaron
kidding
Hess
about that.
needs
I'm
to
not.
get
I'm
injured.
not saying. I'm not saying
Let's do
Keaton
the
Parks
list. Let's
should
do
be
it.
on this roster. He should be
Hayden
on there
Morris
over
needs to be
Buzier for
injured.
sure.
Yeah. Who's the
Keaton
best?
Parks and Jimmy Sands for Morris and Buzio. That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, and I would disagree with that. I think they're on the list. I'm not saying they're not on the list, but I think they're lower.
No, I don't think
Yeah.
they're on the list.
They're on the list, but like my list is long. It's a long list. There's like 10 players
Okay.
per spot.
Yeah, I
So
don't think Poch has a long list yet. I think his list is very short. I think he's just kind of like
he needs to go to
picking-
Yankee Stadium and start
picking
watching some soccer games.
picking players that he's heard of. I don't know. I'm trying to stir something up. It's
Yeah, I
fine.
read
The
online
roster's
that-
fine.
I read online that Poch couldn't afford the Apple TV deal, so he has to wait until next season before he starts watching Apple Cup
He
Joe.
just got his visa.
This guy's visa.
I don't know. This is just all. Yeah, I hope it's all gonna go well, but it all just feels a little like a mismatch of a cultural mismatch. But we'll see. We'll find out. It'll be
Poch is
fun
not
to
working their
watch.
butts off, and they are 100% going to be at attention. They're going to give him his all.
I am going to be very interested. Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch these games, which otherwise I probably wouldn't have. So that's that.
I think we got 2 W's on the horizon. Yeah, I think we got 2
Oh, we're never gonna. That's right. With the coach of our dreams, the team's never gonna lose again.
Now it's a home game against Panama, a home game against Mexico. We win though.
No, Mexico is away,
It'd be a-
isn't it?
Oh, is it? Is that true? Oh, you
thought so.
might be right actually. Which is very rare for Mexico to have a friendly in Mexico. Usually,
Oh, it's not. It's.
Just say it makes no
Oh,
sense.
yes, it is. Guadalajara. Yeah.
Oh, well, you see, that is
Mhm.
a little more interesting. Well, definitely a home win against Panama and a good solid road draw against Guadalajara in Mexico. So yeah, I'm curious too. I mean, the thing with Poch is you have to work a lot under him, and he works with and all this is one camp of like 5 days or something. So who knows how much is going to change? But I do know that if one thing changes, that last round under Mikey Varas, they weren't even there. They were like absent mind. They didn't give a crap. So
No, definitely
this-
they're gonna be. They're
now
backs are
now
gonna
they're
be
giving a
straight.
crap. They're going to be at their best behavior, and that's what we need. We need them at their best behavior for these 2 games. So let's hope. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. I'm looking forward to the Poch era beginning. I'd love
Yeah,
to
me
see. I
too.
do believe it'll be in development. I believe in addition to players being on their best behavior, there'll be kind of a little bit of development of them kind of figuring out because they have a lot of work to do and a little bit of time to do it in. So the Poch journey begins.
Yeah.
On Tuesday? What's the first game here? Tuesday, October 15th. But when is there? It begins soon. I wish I had more.
Friday,
USA versus Panama is on Saturday, October 12th.
Saturday.
And Mexico game is on the 15th. So it begins.
All right.
When we see each other again next week, the Poch train will have left the station.
Amazing.
And we'll see what the first stop. We'll see how good this first
I mean,
stop
that's
in
all we're going to be
Panama.
talking about in the U.S. hour next week. We're going to analyze this one friendly.
We're going to analyze
For
Zach
many-
Steffen's
for many
superhuman-like performance.
Oh my
We're going to analyze
god!
Zach Steffen's superhuman performance. Excellent. Okay.
Not a good,
Cheers,
not a good
everyone.
keeper. All right.
Enjoy the Poch
Bye.
train. We got playoffs coming up. It's a fun time to be an American soccer fan. See you all next week.
Always.